So, a huge thank you to Felisan on Tumblr for kind of like giving us the cliff notes, the abridgment of this article. So, Edge, the future of interactive entertainment magazine, has made an article that is now available to buy from UK retailers today about Dragon Age the Veilguard. And Felisan says that Edge talked to BioWare devs for the creation of this article. So the article contains new quotes from the devs. The article is written by Jeremy Peel. Thanks, Jeremy! There were no new screenshots or images, so don't expect any from the game article, but I also think that it contains a few little bits of information that are new, ? So we'll see, like the bits on companions availability and stumbling across the companions out and about on their own in the world. Like finding Nev investigating an abduction case in Docktown, which is interesting. So let's read a little bit about it. Here is the magazine in question. Excellent cover, if that's the cover there. That's beautiful. Love it. Gotta love the Dragon Age thing. So the autonomy of Veilguard's companions doesn't end with combat. BioWare's data shows that in the previous games, players tended to stick with the same 2 or 3 beloved comrades during a playthrough. Correct! Absolutely correct. I know you're not supposed to have favourites in games like this, but I absolutely do. It's just me, Solus, and Dorian against the world. Sometimes we bring out our son Cole, but for the most part, I always pick Dorian and Solus, and then someone else depending on what I'm doing. So this is 100% correct. This time, however, you'll be forced to mix your squad up at regular intervals. How do you guys feel about that? How do you guys feel about that? So you can't just take your favourites out. You will have to use different characters even if you don't like them. So let me know your thoughts on that. We do expect that players will have favourites they technically want to adventure with, Bush says. But sometimes certain companions will be mandatory. Others may not always be available. Part of the studio's effort to convince with 3-dimensional characters part of the studio's effort to convince. Am I reading this wrong? With 3-dimensional characters. They do have a life outside of Rook. The main character Bruce says. So it's like, you know, when you do personal quests in Dragon Age, you have to take out the person whose personal quest it is. Like if you're doing Bull's quest, you can't do it unless you have Bull in your party. It's going to be like that. But because our party is smaller now, we're doing the 3-person party like in Mass Effect and Veilguard. Because our party is smaller now, it means that if you're taking out characters that you specifically need for quests, you have to take those characters. You can't just take like Bull and your 2 other favourite characters. Like, it's one of the good things with Inquisition, because I always take Dorian and Solus everywhere, but I've got a slot open for whoever's companion quest it is. So it means you can't do stuff like that, which is fine. But how do you guys feel about it? They fall in love with people in this world. They've had past experiences they'll share with you if you allow them in and get close to them. Being separated from your companions rather than collecting them all in a kind of stasis at camp allows you to stumble across them unexpectedly. Bush describes an instance in which, while exploring the Docktown section of Minrathous, you might bump into Nev as she investigates an abduction case. If I go and interact with her, I can actually stop what I'm doing, pick up her arc, and adventure with her through her part of the story. So your companions can fuck off and do whatever they want, do their own thing. They've got their own lives. They've got their own shit to handle in the game. You know how like in Inquisition, everyone's at Skyhold and they stay at Skyhold, and whenever you go to Skyhold, everybody's there. But it seems like in Veilguard, they're not always going to be there. They're going to be out and about in the world. And if you're out and about in the world and you see one of your companions and you talk to them, then you can help them with whatever they're doing, whatever quest they're doing. That's kind of cool. Can you imagine just walking through Minrathous and being like, is that Nev? And then you go over to her and you're like, Nev, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like, I'm trying to catch this guy. Do you want to help? And you're like, fuck yeah, I want to help. Kind of like Mass Effect 3 in the Citadel, sort of. It'll be really interesting to see how that actually feels in game. I'm kind of into it, I'm not gonna lie. That sounds fun, yeah, that kind of sounds fun. It kind of makes them more like people and less like NPCs. Does that make sense? Like with everybody standing around in Skyhold, they all just kind of like feel like characters in a video game because they're static and not really doing anything. Whereas with this, it feels like they go out and they do things. They've got shit to do. They've got stuff to like take care of, and we can like help. This is, I don't know, I kind of like that. What do you guys think? Where did we get to? What's interesting is that all of the companion arcs do ultimately tie back to the themes of the main critical path, but they also have their own unique challenges and villains and take place over the course of many different intimate moments. Do you know what this reminds me of? When I'm running D&D campaigns as a DM, I like to give each, even though all of the players at my table are doing like the main arc of the story, I like to give each character like a personal arc. You know, like how in Critical Role when they do like Percy's arc and they go to like Whitestone and deal with all that stuff, and then like they all have like little personal arcs and the other players help them with their arc. It kind of feels like that. It's kind of cool. That kind of excites me a little bit. Some parts of the companion's quest arc involves combat while others don't. Some are made up of large and meaningful missions, as lavish and involved as those along the critical path. While they are optional, I would be hesitant to call them side content in this game, Bush says. If you choose not to engage with some of these companion-centered events, they'll resolve on their own, and it might have interesting implications. So if you don't help the companions with their own personal quests, maybe they'll take it personally? Maybe they'll like you less? Maybe they'll die? What if they need your help to survive? There could be so much. There's so much they could do with this. Like, what if Nev goes off to do a mission and never comes back because you didn't help her? Meet your maker, full disclosure. Dragon Age has traditionally not done skin tones well. Thoughts? Especially for people of colour, Bush says. We wanted to do make good here. In the Veilguard's character creator, you can adjust the amount of melanin that comes through in the skin, as well as test various lighting scenarios to ensure your protagonist looks exactly as you intend in the cutscenes. Speaking of our first creative principle, be who you want to be. We really feel these are the kinds of features that unlock that for our players, Bush says. Thoughts? We want everyone to be able to see themselves in this game. For the first time in the series, your body type is fully customizable too, with animations, armor, and even romantic scenes reflecting your choices of your physique. Obviously, I am not a person of colour. I am a stinky white man, so I would love to hear from the people of colour in chat. How has your experience been being represented in previous BioWare games? Is this a fair statement? I would love to hear. But can we helicopter in character creator? That's what we need. The world exists as it does because of Solus. What? And that's why he's the maker. And it was called Meet Your Maker. Guys, my theory that Solus is the maker is getting ever so closer to I told you so. The world exists as it does because of Solus. He is the maker. Epler says. He's the fucking maker. He shaped the world because of the kind of character he was. That's, to me, what makes Dragon Age so interesting. Everything can tie back to a person who, to some degree, thought they were doing the right thing. Oh, Solus. The people of Tevinter use magic as if it were electricity, as evident by the glowing sigils that adorn the dark buildings. Yeah, Minrathous is trying to be cyberpunk with the neon signs and stuff, like neon future. I kind of like it. Evoking Osaka's... Oh, we're going to Osaka? Evoking Osaka's riverfront, or the LA of Blade Runner. Oh, nerds! Nerds! Absolute weebs and nerds. That's who we're dealing with. Osaka is fucking gorgeous though. Like, if they're talking about the most famous part of Osaka with the Glico Man on the river with the giant crab and everything, it's probably one of my favorite places in the whole world. So if they're basing Minrathous off of Osaka, I am so down for that. I loved Osaka whilst I was there. It was great. I've never seen Blade Runner before though. They're just one of the tricks BioWare's art team uses to invite you to stop and take in the scene. I love that though. I'm picturing cyberpunk in ancient Rome. Imagine like cyberpunk but D&D with dragons and stuff. I'm down. A lot of what you start to notice when you're the artist who's been working on these big beautiful vistas and neat. I love the use of neat here. They're neat murals. They're so neat. On the walls is how few players look up. I always tell you guys in games, don't I? I always tell you guys in games, look up. Nobody ever looks up in video games. Nobody ever looks up in real life. It's the perfect place to hide. If you ever play like hide and seek with someone in your 30s, hide above eye line. People don't look up. Wherever their eye line is, hide above it. I'm telling you, people don't look up. I always look up. You find so many really cool things if you just look up. I want to see someone getting sucked up by the light beam thing. Like being abducted. Where did I see that? Rhodes says, we design props and architecture that help lead the eyes. I love that. For the really dedicated shoegazers. Is that what you call someone who just stares at the ground? BioWare has invested in ray trace reflections so that the neon signage can be appreciated in the puddles. That's really cool. That's such a neat little feature. I know that other games have done that before, but I appreciate reflections. I think it's really cool. There are also metal grates through which you can see the storm drains below. I'll be looking in everything. Looking for it. Looking for clowns in the drains. The idea behind that is purely just to remind the player often of how stacked the city is, Rhodes says. Wherever you're standing, there's guaranteed to be more below you and above you. I bet Minrathous stinks. I bet Minrathous absolutely honks. I bet you anything. It smells like every other city in the whole world. I bet you it reeks. Smells like sewers and rot and blood and magic. Those resources are then used on the ability wheel, which pauses the game and allows you to consider your options. The bottom quadrant of the wheel belongs to your character and is where 3 primary abilities will be housed. Rook will also have access to runes, which function as an ability and a special ultimate ability, Bush says. So you're bringing 5 distinct abilities with you into combat. I'm not really down for runes, but we'll see how they go. This time, the Veilguard team wants you to constantly feel the sword of Damocles. Who was Damocles? The sword of Damocles is widely misattributed as the name of the first AR display prototype. Who was the actual guy? Is a character who appears in, commonly referred to as the Sword of Damocles. Huh. I'm sure it makes sense to someone. Want to feel the Sword of Damocles dangling above your head as you play. A sense that the world is coming to an end if you act. Ah! What they could have said was the Executioner's Axe. Maybe. So the Veilguard team wants you to constantly feel the Executioner's Axe hanging above your head as you play. A sense that the end of the world is coming if you don't act. Now that makes sense. There's still exploration. There's still the ability to go into some of these larger spaces and go off the beaten path to do side quests, Epler says. But there's always something in the story propelling you and the action forward, and allowing you to make decisions with these characters where the stakes feel a lot more immediate and present, and also honestly more real. The story of the Sword of Damocles is a Greek myth about a courtier named Damocles who serves Dionysus, one, the tyrant of that place from that time. The story is a moral parable that demonstrates how the lives of those who seem to have everything may actually be fraught with anxiety, terror, and even death. I like that. So that is there anything that's like stepped out, like jumped out at you whilst we're reading this? It seems like our companions can go off and do things on their own. You can find them in the world and help them with their quests, and if you don't, it seems to have consequences. Even though, how does this feel for you who are like me, who enjoy doing casual side quests? Because it seems like even if you, there are side quests to do and places to explore, but there's always something propelling you and the action forward. So even though you've logged on to do like a casual kind of like side quest kind of day, there's the stress of, but the world looks soulless looking over your shoulder like this, being like, the world's going to end though. You can have a cozy day doing side quests if you want, but if you keep doing that, the world's going to end, or you should probably do something. It's going to be nice to see how the tone and the feel of the game is going to be. Is it just going to be like Mass Effect 2, like you say? Is it going to be that constant anxiety of the collectors are coming? Let me know your thoughts below in the comments, guys. What about this are you most looking forward to? What do you feel about seeing your companions out and about in the world? Them not being static NPCs in your in the lighthouse, which is going to be our new hub. What do you think about the designs of the places and stuff? What from this article really jumped out to you? And again, once again, a huge thank you to Fela-san on Tumblr for compiling this article. Let me know in the comments down below. If you've liked this video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. I'll be back soon, hopefully with more Veilguard updates. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Check out all my links in the description bar, and I will see you guys in the next Veilguard video. See you next time, guys. Bye.